It's a very special pleasure to welcome you to the gathering this week and to share a little of information about perhaps an announcement you've read on social media or heard from your classmates or others. Yes, it is true. I let our Board of Trustees know on Saturday that after 15 years of being your president, Rhonda and I have decided it's time to make a transition, not out of Lipscomb University, but into a different role, that of chancellor. And because you are the most important part of this community, I wanted to drop by, at least digitally today, and share a little bit of context with you. I came to Lipscomb 15 and a half years ago. I've wondered in the last few hours how old you were when I came to this institution. It was a long time ago, and while I didn't know you, I anticipated you. This entire community anticipated that you would be the students God sent to this institution, not only to contribute to it, but for us to contribute, hopefully, to your academic and your intellectual and your emotional and your spiritual being. The reality is you come a bit as a consumer, but you leave really as our product. And I am so terribly proud of Lipscomb students. You are a cut above. You have shown over and over again, especially in this pandemic, that you have a sense of character, you're willing to have a sense of responsibility, and as the result of that, Lipscomb will get a full academic year in this year. But back to the other, let me give you just a little bit of context. In higher education, presidents stay an average of 6 years. I will have been here 16. Usually, universities are used to this coming and going because presidents come and go every 6 years. We're in a bit of an unusual circumstance. Most people here have never selected a new president. But I want you to know how capable we are in doing that and what a normal and, frankly, a moment that will propel us forward this might be. Ron and I were thinking about when to do this, and well, for a number of reasons, it wasn't good to do during the pandemic and the year or two before that. But now's the time that we think it's right. You will need to begin the strategic planning for this university's 10-year future next year. And frankly, while I have a vision for that, and while I could share with you the kind of ideas that I think might be relevant, the reality is the people who do the planning need to be the people that carry it out. And as much as I'd like to, I won't be here another decade. And so we think the time is right, but the time is also right because Lipscomb is in a tremendously solid and good place. We have a record enrollment in a year that most private schools in America are down because of the pandemic. We have a campaign, a capital fundraising campaign we've been working at for several years. The goal is $250 million, and we are only about $500,000 short. We will finish the campaign in just a few weeks. And the campus, well, you don't know what it was like 15 years ago, but there was no Chick-fil-A and no Starbucks. The buildings were not as new and nice as they are now. In fact, during the last 15 years, we have either built new or refurbished every building on this campus except Sewell Hall, and we're thinking about that. So you are the beneficiary of generous people who've invested in your education. We are a level 6 university. I know that doesn't mean much, but that's the highest level of accreditation, a private research university where we now offer a PhD. And of course, boy, it's good as we look at surviving the pandemic. Not only surviving, we've been thriving through this year because of you and the faculty and our wonderful people in health services. We've gotten through this year just fine. I will tell you this, I had a consultant in my office not long ago, and he was very familiar with Christian colleges across the country, and he ended our conversation by saying, President Lowry, you need to know that 9 out of 10 Christian colleges in America would trade places with Lipscomb tomorrow afternoon. Well, I don't know if that's exactly accurate, but I am pleased that this has been a wonderful, God-blessed 15 years, and that you, our students, those who are most important here, are the beneficiaries of it. So what will happen? Well, our Board of Trustees will select a national firm. We'll do a national search. During the next 6 months, you will be brought into it. We will look at the community and say, what vision do you have for its next leader? And then sometime next summer, I will serve until that person is here, but sometime next summer, they will arrive with their vision and their sense of optimism and their confidence in our future. I will return after a short sabbatical as the chancellor. No one knows what that means, but we'll be defining that, and I think it will be a combination of working with some of our significant donors and supporters so they feel like there's continuity here. I think it'll be continuing some of the work I do on a national level and a local level on boards of trustees for a variety of organizations. And I think both Rhonda and I will continue to teach a little bit. Rhonda in the College of Bible Ministry, and I will be teaching in the College of Leadership and Public Service. So let me just close and say this to you. The reason I came all the way from Malibu, California to Nashville, Tennessee, well, at that time it wasn't because of the pretty buildings, and it wasn't because of a lot of other factors, even Nashville, Tennessee. I came because of the opportunity to create and help create an institution that you would come to, that would form you, that would educate you, that would give you a sense of what to do in your career and the character to take into your life. And absolutely the most inspiring moments I've had have frankly not been with faculty or my other administrators. They've been with students. When I'm discouraged, it's a walk to Starbucks, and it's standing in line talking to students and going to my office then much, much more enthusiastic. And the most precious moment to me is a moment that's precious to you as well. It's that moment in Allen Arena where it's filled with thousands of people. We're all dressed in, well, robes from maybe the 12th century. We hear the bagpipes play, and we know this is a day of celebration. You march in, the faculty march in, and you'll see I'm standing alone in one of the tunnels. I find this an extraordinarily sobering but very joyful moment, because it is the moment I know we have done what we were to do, and you've done what you were to do, and together we celebrate your graduation. I look forward to being with those who graduated in May, and I'll be standing quietly in the tunnel celebrating your achievement. And in the years well into the future, I'll find a little different spot, but I'll be just as proud when you get this job done. Thanks for allowing me to lead. Thank you for your generosity and spirit to the leadership of the university. Thank you, and may God bless you richly.
Hello, here are some announcements for you all. Our first bison break of the semester is Wednesday. I hope you use this time to rest and recharge. There will, however, be plenty of activities happening on campus for those who are interested. You can start your day with a morning run with Al at 8 a.m., stop by the welcome desk in the Student Center between 11 a.m. or 3 p.m. for treats and a surprise, or you can enjoy one of the mental and physical exercises offered by the Counseling Center and the SAC. Be sure to check Have You Heard for all of the details. Last week, SGA hosted its first Food Truck Friday. This Friday, we are happy to welcome Nashville Chicken and Waffles and the Peach Cobbler Factory. As a reminder, food is free for the first 150 students. Please bring your student ID to get a ticket. Be sure to stop by Allen Arena Circle between 11 and 2. Go Bisons!
Today's reading is from Psalms 88. Lord, you are the God who saves me. Day and night I cry out to you. May my prayer come before you. Turn your ear to my cry. I am overwhelmed with troubles, and my life draws near to death. I am counted among those who go down to the pit. I am the one without strength. I am set apart with the dead, like the slain who lie in the grave, whom you remember no more, who are cut off from your care. You have put me in the lowest pit, in the darkest depths. Your wrath lies heavily on me. You have overwhelmed me with all of your waves. You have taken from me my closest friends and have made me repulsive to them. I am confined and cannot escape. My eyes are dim with grief. I call to you, Lord, every day. I spread out my hands to you. Do you show your wonders to the dead? Do their spirits rise up and praise you? Is your love declared in the grave? Your faithfulness in destruction? Are your wonders known in the place of darkness, or your righteous deeds in the land of oblivion? But I cry to you for help, Lord. In the morning my prayer comes before you. Why, Lord, do you reject me and hide your face from me? From my youth I have suffered and been close to death. I have borne your terrors and am in despair. Your wrath has swept over me. Your terrors have destroyed me. All day long they surround me like a flood. They have completely engulfed me. You have taken from me my friend and neighbor. Darkness is my closest friend.
That's it? Darkness is my closest friend? That's how we're going to end Psalm 88? Seriously? Where's the rescue? Where's the pretty bow? Where's the happily ever after? Because I didn't see any. Did you? You know, sometimes things work out the way I want them to. My persistence is rewarded. My patience. I heal through it, and I'm fine. Sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes I don't heal through it. Sometimes that loss is gone forever. It's permanent. Sometimes my prayers are answered the way I want them to, and sometimes they're not answered at all. At least that's what it feels like. I'm wondering about you. Does your suffering wake up with you in the morning and follow you all around all day? Or maybe it's not that nice. Maybe it wakes you up in the middle of the night and doesn't let you go back to sleep. It's hard sometimes, and some things don't just resolve. I think the writer of Psalm 88 didn't feel any resolve. But one thing we can know is that you're not alone. You're not the only one who experiences that. We've got a psalmist. Somehow this psalm made the Bible, so it's in some way God ordained, breathed. We also notice we're not alone because Paul in the Bible, Peter, they had their moments that didn't resolve. You see, when Jesus was preaching and the 12 were following him and things were going great, people were amassing by the thousands. So many they had to feed them a couple of times just because they just wandered off following this guy, listening to him, forgetting to bring food. And things were great. And I can imagine Peter is like, yeah, this is what I signed up for. We might overthrow Rome if this really gets going. But then the preaching of Jesus kind of expanded, and he preached some hard things, some things that didn't make a lot of sense to people. And then as fast as they came, they started to trail off and shuffle away. Some just ran for the hills. And things were dwindling, and I can imagine Peter's hope dwindling as well. And Jesus finally just looks at him and says, "What about you? Are you going to leave me too?" And I don't know, like Peter had a way out. That was his out. He had a chance to leave, and I don't know that anyone would have blamed him. And he looked around and he just said, where would I go? I got nothing. I mean, I thought you were something, and I still think you are. I still think you have the words of life, but there's not very many of us left. And so in a really weak-willed allegiance, Peter, without a better offer, hung around with Jesus, not out of his strength, but out of his weakness, hopes almost completely dashed, thinking, okay, I'll keep walking around. I don't really want to go back and fish. The Apostle Paul prayed to have his suffering relieved, his thorn in the flesh, he called it. And we don't really know what that was. Maybe it was a physical ailment that he had, that maybe he'd gotten beaten up so many times by then that he walked with a limp, or some think it was maybe his eyesight. Maybe he had an unwanted desire that he just couldn't shake and just wanted to be rid of it because it was getting in the way of his ministry. Who knows? But whatever it was, he called it a thorn in the flesh, and he prayed fervently, God, please remove this. Nothing. Okay, Paul's persistent. He prayed again. Please remove this thorn in the flesh. Crickets again. And he prayed a third time. And I can just imagine he's saying, I'm your man. Like, I will go anywhere for you. I will suffer for you. I will be shipwrecked for you. I will be bitten by a snake for you. Like, I will do all the things, but could you just do this one thing for me so I can do those things better? And this time God did answer. Well, it's not the kind of answer you look for or hope for. He said, my grace is sufficient for you. Well, I don't know how that sounds to you, but that sounds like God's not going to do anything. Like, I've done enough. Like, I've given you all that you need. So Paul kind of gets that stinger of a response, and that's one of those like, well, it'd be better if you just didn't answer the prayer, because that hurts. But Paul had to figure it out. He had to make some meaning of it. And so the meaning he ended up making was, apparently I need humility. You're doing this to make me more humble. That's not the relief most people are looking for, but it's the meaning Paul had to make from God, who said, my grace is sufficient. So what are you going to do with Psalm 88? Some of you are sitting in a Psalm 88 moment right now where it hurts, or maybe you've lost something. It's gone forever. You're not alone. It feels lonely, but you're not alone. I've got some of those things in my life. One of them is my father died in 2006. Do you think I've gotten over it? I don't cry every day, but I think about it. It's still empty in a spot that is shaped like him. He's not coming back. I'll go to him before he comes to me. There's an emptiness that I carry. And I know some of you know what I'm talking about. I just want to leave you with 3 things. When everything's lost, what all do you have left? When darkness is your closest friend, what can you do? When it's not going to get better, what else is there? One of these next 3 things may be available to you. Maybe all of them, I don't know. But when I think, well, what all do I have left? I've made an acronym of it. All. Acceptance, learning, or lamenting. Perhaps acceptance is available to you. Perhaps you can't change this thing, but through time, you can learn to develop a relationship with it, with the grief, with the suffering, with the pain, with the hurt. And it doesn't feel any better, but you can come to accept that this is how it is. And that you can come to this sense of God's grace is sufficient for me. Doesn't mean I have to like it. Maybe that's available, but maybe you're more toward there's something to learn from this thing that's not going away or changing or resolving. Perhaps the suffering won't end anytime soon or the loss is permanent. But maybe there's something of value that you can find that you weren't originally looking for. Perhaps suffering, there's no relief, but there is learning. Maybe there's the slow development of a healthy coping mechanism that is useful in all of your life, that might be useful in other people's lives as well. Maybe there's a deep meaning or a deep wisdom that could only be developed in the context of the suffering, where you don't get relief, but you become wise, wiser than you could have ever become. But maybe the suffering is so raw that you just can't accept it right now. Maybe it is so extreme that there isn't a coping mechanism that you can develop just yet. Perhaps all you have to offer God is your expressions of anger and sadness, loneliness and hurt. Perhaps rage praying is the only praying you're capable of producing in this moment. If that's the case, don't hold back. Do not hold back. God is not so insecure that you need to clean up and censor your prayers for him. Give it all to him. That is exactly what happened in Psalm 88. It's a lament. And if you can't not be broken, you can choose where to be broken. And that's in the presence of God. I hope you never have a Psalm 88 moment. I wish that this psalm, in the background of your experience, doesn't even make sense, but I know that that's not true for everyone. But I hope that you can find a way to maybe accept the suffering, to learn something from the suffering, or lament through the suffering. God is with you. Thank you.
Let us pray together. Good Father, in Psalm 88, the sons of Asaph spill their guts. Indeed, their cry is gut-wrenching. They reach inside themselves and lay hold of their disappointment and splatter it across the floor for all of us to see. It's a mess. They cry out from their depths and shake their fists at you, and they question you and they challenge you. O God of the universe, breath that inspired today's word, I must admit that I don't like it. Sometimes I want to fix your word, to smooth out the rough edges of the Bible, to unlock the mystery, to make easy the hard sayings, to tie up the loose ends. I'm tempted to fix Psalm 88. When I read these words of dark despair, I want to reach for the light switch. There's something in me that wants to finish the psalm for these sons of Asaph. I want to give them something more reassuring, like we read in other psalms. Oh God, like the psalmist, we sometimes find ourselves in the dark asking you, where are you? We can't find you. Are you in here in the dark? We're afraid. We can't see where to go. Are you with us? Like children in the night, we want to pull the covers over our heads and wait out the fear. We call out to you, Abba, be with us, hold us, assure us with the strong arms of your presence. And yet often we feel nothing. And even today, for those of us who are immobilized by the dark night of the soul, we recall to our minds your history with the dark, when the earth was formless and empty and darkness was over the surface of the deep. Your spirit hovered over the waters. Whatever stuff or matter was present at that time, darkness was present with it, and so were you. We hold out hope that if the Spirit existed before the light, maybe you like to meet us and be with us in the darkness just as much as you do in the light. If there's anyone who knows how to live in the dark, it's you. When we enter our dark place in life and we ask you, where are you? and you spread out the story before us and invite us to survey the scene before creation, to gaze at the cross upright on the hill, dark clouds rolling in, to survey and watch the black tomb for 3 days, remembering that Jesus was in the darkness of the tomb before he was raised and brought into the sun of Sunday morning. We hear you speak in the night. I am here. I've been here all along in the dark. We declare that in the dark you are not going anywhere, and by faith neither will we. We will trust you that the darkness might actually befriend us, because even there you are with us, our friend. So we declare this and request your presence in the name of Jesus, the light of life. Amen.